absolutely hated being a business owner. And it was really affecting my personal life and my family.
We got really lucky finding each other and merging our businesses. I, too, got to a desperate place where it was just exhausting trying to figure out the obstacles of the laws and the rules that kept changing day to day. I feel like most people that I talked to in business really did kind of hit rock bottom. It was hard. It was a hard time for everybody. Welcome to The Root of the Matter, a podcast hosted by Dr. Marnie Bauer, where we delve deep into the heart of women's experiences in business. Each episode, I will sit down with inspiring female leaders and entrepreneurs, exploring their journeys, the challenges they've faced, and the successes they've achieved. Our aim is to create a vibrant space for inspiration, energy flow, and solutions that empower women to thrive in both their personal and professional lives. Join us as we uncover the roots of resilience, creativity, and collaboration that drive women forward in the world of business. Prepare to be inspired and energized as we explore the stories that matter. Hi, this is Marnie Bauer, and welcome to The Root of the Matter. Our guest today is Dr. Leslie Ferrara.
Hi
Welcome.
there. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And today we're just going to get real deep down and personal, and we're going to talk about the challenges of solo business owning and solo practitioner versus being in a group and collaborating with other women. So tell us a little bit about your journey. What made you decide to buy your first dental practice?
It was a very trial by fire decision. I had been the associate in that practice for 2 years and loved it, loved the patients. It's 3 blocks from where I live, so it was really part of my community. My neighbors were my patients. Everything was great. Loved my boss, great staff. They'd all been there for a long time. And the owner very suddenly decided to move out of state with her family. And so I was caught in this position of, we're all out of a job, or she sells to corporate or something, or I suck it up and buy the practice. I was completely unprepared. This was kind of at the early stages of everybody sharing so much information online about business and how to learn and what to do and how to deal with certain aspects of things. So I literally knew nothing and just had to jump in feet first. And it was really scary. From all the perspectives, especially financially. You know, it was a huge undertaking. And my in-laws helped me out with part of the financial part of things, and we just kind of got going. All of a sudden, I was doing the dentistry of 2 doctors by myself with a large staff.
Wow.
So there was a lot of interesting challenges along the way. And it was good for about 5 years. The owner ended up coming back and being my associate, which was great. I was happy to have her back. And back
That's
to
an
being
interesting spin.
Yep.
That doesn't normally happen.
It's
okay.
a very unusual situation, but everything was on good terms. And so she came back, but she came back part-time. So that changed the dynamics of the way the practice was run, because now we're changing things again to now a doctor and a half practice. And so navigating that was a little bit challenging to keep both of our schedules full while maintaining this staff that I had inherited. So that was interesting. It was good for probably another 5 years, and then COVID hit. And like everybody else, we struggled big time. So I had staff to support that, I had been with for a very long time, and, we really couldn't afford it anymore. But like my personality, I felt bad, and I was just really trying to make everybody happy. And with family issues and some other things, the now associate, former owner dentist, kind of slowly started dwindling her schedule. But we had such a good relationship for so long that I let it happen to the detriment of the practice. And so I just kept silently shouldering the burdens that kept coming my way. And I wasn't vocal enough about it at the time. And so I think that's a lot of what led me to the position that I ended up being in, which I loved dentistry. I hated seeing all my friends at the peak of burnout with all the staff changes and everything, all the situations that all of us dealt with during COVID. But I was really dealing with it all alone. And I had my Mommy Dentist in Business online group, which was very helpful and full of resources and information, but physically I was still stuck by myself. And it was really hard.
It is hard.
And so I just got to this point where I was really saddened by all my friends that were experiencing such burnout and were miserable with dentistry altogether, and I hadn't gotten there. I still loved dentistry so much, and I loved my patients, and I loved the practice that I was in and the location and being a part of the community. But I just got to the point where I absolutely hated being a business owner, and it was really affecting my personal life and my family, and didn't have a lot of, I had a few friends here that we would all, commiserate together and whatnot, but I had them for emotional support, but didn't really have support within the practice itself. So ultimately made the decision, it's time to change my situation. And, I shopped around with private equity and corporate, and none of it felt good. And so, my goal was to really find a private practice that would potentially be willing to keep me on, because I didn't want to go. I loved my practice and I loved my patients. So I was lucky enough to team up with somebody that I had known for 11 years. So I'm very, very, very grateful for that.
Aww.
Yeah.
I didn't know all of the story. And we got really lucky finding each other and merging our businesses. And you know what? I think that everyone during COVID, every single business owner could relate to what you're saying. I mean, I know I, too, got to a desperate place where it was just exhausting trying to figure out the obstacles of the laws and the rules that kept changing day to day, as far as how to operate your business, how to manage the team, OSHA regulations. It was really, really tricky, and it was exhausting. And I feel like most people that I talked to in business really did kind of hit rock bottom. It was hard. It was a hard time for everybody. I also think it shifted our mindset, really to just think about what we value and how sweet life is, and what we can manage and what we just don't want to be part of our life anymore.
Right. I mean, I think it showed a lot of us as business owners, despite the fact that we were going through such an incredibly difficult time, we were in survival mode. Like we didn't have another we didn't have any other choice. No. Like it's not like any of us are going to just, what's the word I'm looking for? Like desert our patients and our employees and just close up shop. Like that's not an option. I still have student loans to pay. I still have a business loan to pay. So I think a lot of us just rallied together as much as we could, and we were in survival mode. And I think that's an important thing to remember, because it's so easy to think about all of the struggles that we had during that time, but we all came out of it to some degree.
And that feeling of loneliness, and that feeling of just, I felt that too. It just, you are on your own island. And dentistry, everyone was so scared of going back to the dentist because, obviously the transmission of COVID and all of that stuff really took everything to a whole nother level. Now we're looking back. I actually just saw my fogger in the...
Oh, gosh.
Do you remember the fogger?
Oh, yes.
I just ran into the fogger when we were getting some things out of the closet, and I was like, I had a flashback that we would fog every day after the patients. But, okay, so let's go back a little bit. I'm curious to know how you had the practice assessed when you bought it. How'd you come up with the price for when you originally bought the practice?
I could have hired somebody to do a more professional assessment, which I should have, but at the time I was still kind of just putting out feelers and seeing what was available. I had a couple of private equity firms that did various assessments, and then I talked to your business coach.
When you bought it.
When I bought it
originally.
So again, hindsight's 20/20, and I know that she had a practice broker through Henry Schein who had done an assessment. The price was dropped for me being the associate that had contributed to the profits for the last 2 years. But I should have had my own assessment done for sure.
Well, that's a tricky area. I mean, I think with any business, when you're thinking about buying a business, there's so much goodwill in a business. And, what is goodwill? What is the value of goodwill? And I know that's a big part of the price tag for most businesses, and especially dental. And you learned a lot through the last decade, I think.
Oh, yes, for sure.
About business and about buying and selling, owner associateship.
It was a lot of pressure to make the deal go through very quickly because of her situation moving. And so I was very naive about a lot of things because I wasn't expecting to buy a dental practice. I wasn't ready for that. I hadn't started any research. That wasn't even a thought in my mind at the time when I was presented with this situation. And so a lot of things that I would never let a friend do again.
So what is it? Like, if you were talking to your younger Leslie, what would you have done with that first part of this?
Have the practice evaluated for yourself.
So have a couple different assessments, one from the seller, one from the buyer.
Absolutely. And the price is negotiable.
Yeah.
You don't have to just take the number that you're given.
Did you do that?
Even though that's what's needed.
Did you take the price?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would never do that again.
I know.
Why?
It's like learning. I know.
But I was young and, again, thrown into this situation with no time to do more research or education, and that was it. I mean, my husband's never owned a business. My parents were school teachers for 42 years. They're really smart people, but they don't know anything about business. And so, it was completely blind. So I wouldn't do that again. And I wouldn't let the pressure of these sellers' needs affect my decision.
That's huge.
And very huge.
And I think as women, we are sensitive to the other person. And out of respect, you were the associate for so many years. And then you were younger and you wanted to be respectful. And you were probably in your giving self.
Of course.
Now, if you were to do it again, or you would encourage a friend, you would say, listen, you have to put yourself first, get a few assessments, and negotiate, and maybe have your own broker. Have your own broker. I think that's huge advice.
Yeah, I think I got very lucky with my attorney at the time, really advocating for me in ways that I wouldn't have even thought of. So, at least I had a little something, on my side, and I think that was really critical. But when I'm getting phone calls from the banker because they want the deal to go through before the end of the month or whatever it was,
it's intimidating
for their commission.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's intimidating.
I got to the point where I did kind of snap back at him, which is highly, highly unusual for me. It was just such pressure tactics all the time. And I'm like, this is $1 million deal. And no one's watching out for me. Everyone else just wants it done so they can collect their piece of the pie. And so it was very intense and very stressful.
I'm sure. It sounds
and
like it.
I think a lot of that stress came from not being prepared and for it to, be such a quick fire deal. But, it worked out for a while.
Sure. I mean, and like life is about learning all these lessons. There's never a straightforward route to anything. And I have to tell you, every coaching class or seminar that I go to in my women's group, when we meet once a quarter, the question always comes up, what's the biggest mistake you've ever made? And it's hard to pinpoint. But it's to share these mistakes with other people so that they can hear, even if they take a little piece of our path, they can pivot and make it better for themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if I had to look back and in summation, my largest mistake I ever made is that, just like you said, like not watching out for myself, giving too much to other people, feeling bad for a certain situation, wanting to help others, like to the detriment of myself. And you can only give so much until you have nothing left. And yeah.
You're gonna make me cry.
No.
And it's a common thread, and it's something that why does it take so long to learn these lessons? You know?
I don't know.
It's just
because you're in go mode.
It's
and
not
then,
innate.
No.
I mean, very few women have that innate quality, and kudos to them. But
Absolutely.
it's I have to say, if I had to write a hypothesis or a thesis about it, I think it is learned. I think it is experienced and learned, and that's why I can't retire anytime soon, because I'm like, I'm just getting good. I'm just figuring this out. It takes a long time to figure it out.
It does. I mean, I think 30s and 40s, you just learn so much about yourself, and this aspect of my life of dentistry and business ownership. I mean, I've grown so much and learned so much about myself along the way.
That's good.
You know,
That's awesome.
I always knew personality traits of myself that could be good or could lead to being taken advantage of. And unfortunately, some people can pick up on that very quickly, and, you know, they know it's just staff, like, taking advantage. And it was difficult, especially after COVID, when there was such a constant turnover in staff, of them not really knowing you or getting to the point where they know you well enough to not mistake your kindness for weakness. And so, yeah, it's hard when you don't have that, you know, very strong personality. I don't. I'm super easygoing. I'm laid back to a fault, and that's great in so many ways, and I love that in so many ways. But it does also put you in a situation where you're easily taken advantage of, and I can acknowledge that about myself, that I allowed that to happen, and I wouldn't do it again. But I did allow that to happen, and it led to, you know, making some major decisions and changes in my life. But, you know, I mean, you have to acknowledge. Yeah, you have to live and learn.
Do you feel like you feel like your voice is stronger? Do you feel like when you have that feeling in your gut that you are more quick to say your piece? Is
I'm
that
getting
something
there.
You're working on?
I'm getting there. Yeah.
Because I think that's a piece of it too. You know, asking for help, you know, is probably my weakness. I forever never asked for help from my spouse, for example, and I would just, in my mind, I would do it all, and then it would exhaust and deplete me. And I've really had to work on that skill of, I've had a coaching on delegation and talking about the people that are in my inner circle that support me, about just the things that are on my mind, and the needs that I have, where I used to not share because I thought, oh, well, my husband's a mind reader. I mean, clearly he knows how I'm feeling and what I need. Wrong. That's all wrong. And I feel like now that I make a conscious effort of it, I just feel better. I feel like I'm not caring as much. And so, you know, it's important to recognize these little things and work towards making your life easier by, you know, working on those weaknesses or sharing what's on your mind, especially with team members. And it's hard. So it's hard being a female boss because you don't want to be perceived as a bitch, but you need to get what you need out of your teammates. So let's talk about that. Because when you're asking for things from your employees, it can be tricky, especially when you're stressing out and you're having a very hectic day and you're running the business, so you're in charge of everything going on, from the computers to the patients to how your team is flowing. And let's be realistic, things go wrong during our day. And it's really hard, number one, to keep your cool. And it's hard to stay organized with your thought process, but also kind of demand what you need. So what do you do when you need something immediately? How do you talk to your team members?
So that's been a real big challenge for me, and that's something, again, personality-wise, I have to continue to work on and grow in that sphere, because I'm not assertive. I'm just not naturally assertive. And so it's something, just over time.
So do you keep it in? Are you just keeping it in with your, like, in your head, in your mind?
I like to try to
do it? Do you just do it yourself?
Depends on, I do it myself. And that's a big problem. And so it's good to have people around me, to remind me, like, stop enabling. And so kind of shifted the verbiage. I'm here to help you if you need help, but I do need this done by the end of the day. Or whatever, whatever the task may be. And so I've tried to just kind of remind myself of some of that gentle but assertive language. It's gentle enough that I'm comfortable saying it, but assertive enough that it's clear that I really do need this done.
Do you think that this parallels parenting?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I agree. I feel like the way that we parent our children is the way, like, listen, we've modeled behavior. There's no book of how to parent, and we that is kind of innate how we parent. So do you parent the same way you lead your team?
I think I'm more assertive with my daughter than I am with my staff. And I remember several years ago talking to my associate, and we've navigated this parenting world together and all the challenges that come with it. And I was just having a really hard day. And I was like, I'm surrounded by strong personalities here. I'm surrounded by strong personalities at home, especially my daughter. And sometimes I just feel so small. And I've got to get beyond that, because I'm an adult and I'm a mom, and I have to be in charge, and I have to be in charge of this business. So you just take a deep breath and you suck it up and you move on. But yes, my daughter she's amazing. She has such a personality.
Aww.
There's a fire inside that kid that is just, she's feisty and hysterical at the same time. But yes, we have our challenges. But I feel, especially now that I'm not in the ownership role, I think I feel it more of an importance to be assertive with her, because she's 7 and she's got to learn who the boss is, because I made that mistake in the past, and I don't think some of my employees always knew who the boss was or didn't view me as that sometimes. And so, yeah, she's super fun, but she pushes back. And so she challenges me to kind of learn and adapt to see what way of communication is going to work with her for the message to be effective.
So the kids need boundaries.
Absolutely.
So the kids need boundaries, and it's our responsibility to give them boundaries. And it's like you can be flexible within those boundaries, but then there's just zero tolerance for certain things. And I think that's really important to bring into the workspace too. I think that I understand and am empathetic to a lot of the team members, because they're all women, and so they're all experiencing childcare obstacles, sick kid obstacles, health appointments, and you have to be empathetic to a degree, but you also have to say, well, wait a minute, we're also running a business. And so, certain boundaries, and then you got to call it. But if you don't have the boundaries, they go AWOL, and it becomes a circus. And it's a lot of different personalities in the office. It's very challenging managing so many personalities. I think that's the hardest part.
It is.
Personally, dentistry, or our craft, is the easy part. Paying the bills is easy. It is what it is. It's managing all those different personalities.
Absolutely.
And how do you get good at that? Like, how do you understand? everyone's needs and be empathetic towards one, have, 20-something women and have all these different personalities. I feel like that is just the biggest challenge, and getting everyone to understand you so they can give you what you need, and then we need to understand them to give them that flexibility within that box.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
I think anyone that was considering a career in dentistry now, I would highly, highly recommend a minor in psychology.
I was going to say.
And not just for dealing with
a psychiatrist.
Be a psychiatrist. And I always used to make that joke, like I didn't know I needed a dual degree. And it's not just for dealing with staff, but dealing with the variety of patients that we encounter on a day-to-day basis. You have everyone that, thinks they're your bro, to people that are terrified and just can't even get the words out.
And it's a roller coaster.
It's an emotional roller coaster, and nobody prepares you for that. And I think being empathetic and having that personality quality is one of the things that makes us thrive as dentists. But it's emotionally exhausting. So you get home at the end of the day and you've been on this wild ride, whether it would be staff or with patients, and you've still got to be on. You've still got to be there for your family. So it's draining some days. And then some days you have the greatest day and you have these patients that you care about so much, and you get home and you're so happy, and it's a wild ride. So you got to try to remember the good days and the good experiences rather than taking all the negativity home with you.
Remember next time you go to the dentist to give your dentist a break. It's really, really an interesting dynamic. It is such a spectrum of stretching us to like the depths of our psyche. You're absolutely right to be able to deal with all these different personalities, give good quality care, and be comforting and kind, but be precise. You can't screw anything up. So you have to be controlled and calm and smart. It's a lot.
I think
it's a lot.
Just learning to compartmentalize is huge.
By the way, is that healthy to compartmentalize?
To a degree. I mean, I think we have to. I think any medical provider has to. I see my sister-in-law, who's an anesthesiologist, and she's got to jump from one case to another case, and maybe one case the patient, was in a dire state, and now she's got to be completely on to provide the best care for the next patient. And it's the same with us. You could have had just an employee or somebody trap you in your office, airing their grievances, and you've got to shut them off because you've got a patient waiting, and you've got something that's not going well in one room, or somebody that's just generally upset and having a hard time, a patient that's super nervous, and you've got to be comforting to them and then immediately shut it off because you've got to do your best for the patient in the next room. It's I don't know, it gives us a lot of scope, I think, emotionally.
It's tricky. What do you think about now that even though now you're in your own office, you're still in your same office, and we've combined forces, and you have somebody to collaborate with, do you feel more relaxed coming into work? Like, what has changed for you? What is the benefit of joining up with a group?
Just feeling part of a team again. I came from hospital dentistry, which you are very much a part of a team. We've got multiple specialists, you've got multiple staff. Everybody's there to try to achieve the same outcome and goals. And you always have somebody you can run a question by or have a second opinion or whatever it may be. Being a part of a team is so huge, and I think it's so beneficial to getting the best outcomes for patients, not just relying on one person's skill or opinion. As general dentists, we're often tasked with being jack of all trades, but you can't be. That's why we have specialties and people with different experiences, and there's always that unique situation that only one other person you know has encountered. And so it's critical to be able to have a team,
The second
colleagues
and third set of eyes to look at cases clinically. And then what about for like management standpoint? You know, we've had our team come in and rearrange, and let's talk about it. I mean, this was real.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually hit a year this March.
Yes. Happy anniversary.
Yes, happy anniversary.
For good or for better or for worse.
And there were a lot of changes when we combined forces. You know, you had an office manager that had been there for like 10 years, right? Hadn't she been there for a while? And then you basically have a whole new team. I think you have one team member, correct? That is still standing, who's amazing. I love her.
And she's on for all the changes. She's
blossomed.
Just blossomed.
She's
It's
awesome.
been amazing. So, yeah, I mean, I'm such an adaptable person, and I trust the team that you've cultivated to make decisions like this. I've seen how much it's worked for you, that I'm like, no, I'm on board.
So you've been.
I was totally on board.
Because that can be like a little, you know, a little chaotic, getting to know so many new team members. But I think part of our vision and our core values had to be shared with the new team members, and that's always dicey because you don't know anybody yet until we get in there and we live with them. And so, you know, you start to realize that some of the people don't have the same vision and aren't the same core people that you're looking for. And so by shifting everybody to kind of meet these requirements, at least everyone's like-minded. But it's hard. I mean, no one really talks about how challenging it is to find the right fit, because your team is everything. You know, that can make or break your day, and that can make or break your success. So it's hard finding the right people, especially in today's climate. It's really, really challenging.
That was the biggest part of what led me to the overwhelming feeling that I have got to change my situation. It was really, you know, all these changes in staff post-COVID, and the mentality of people that didn't share my vision or they were just there for a paycheck. They didn't necessarily care for the patients the way that I did, but there was no one else available to hire. That was really, really hard. And I know so many friends that went through the same thing. And I think that was huge. That was a huge, I don't want to say downfall, but because I don't think we failed. We just needed to move on.
I think the sustainability of your business depends on your team.
1,000%.
And so it is really important to clarify, as you're growing, you have to recreate your vision, your branding, your needs, because we change. We change so much as humans. And as we age, I mean, our needs are different. And so you have to evolve all of these things constantly, and also keep surrounding yourself by people that can support all of your changing needs. And so, you know, we use that EOS as our, we use it's a coaching platform for many years. I think this is our 4th year. And it forces us to focus every quarter on our vision statement, our core values. Are they changing? Are we acquiring new businesses? Are we starting new businesses? What are our core values and our vision for each new business? And honestly, if I hadn't started coaching under this EOS, I would have never taken the time to even think about what my vision is and what truly our core values are. And so once you have these lined up, it makes hiring and firing and growing so much easier. And you know, we assess our team members quarterly too, and we do peer reviews on our core values. And that's helped us decide if if a person fits our team and how important it is to have this team that all sees things the way we do.
Yeah.
But I think many people do sell their businesses, men and women, like, I just can't do this anymore. I'm so burnt out. I'm exhausted. I don't enjoy it. And I think the reality is there are so many problems that can come into your everyday business life that you have to have a team that can help you solve them.
Yeah. I mean, surrounding yourself by good people that share your vision is absolutely critical. Your business can't survive without it.
Yeah, and I have to give you kudos because we did come in and we slowly made those changes, and you did adapt very well. I remember sometimes I'd be like, oh my God, she's going to think we're losing our mind. And I would text you on the side and ask you if you were okay with these changes. And
I really am.
you really went with it. You did. And that's growth-minded mind. That's a growth-minded mindset right there, to be able to not resist and just go with it and have the trust. So thank you for trusting in us. But I feel like your team is really great right now.
They are. It's good.
Good.
I love coming into work every day. I love seeing who's going to be on my schedule and who's going to do what,
Good.
Love having people that I can trust. It's been really good.
Good.
It's not the days of old where I have to sit in my car and psych myself up to go inside to, say, oh, what chaotic, crazy situation am I going to be faced with today? So yeah. Good. And this is exactly what my hope was along the entire process. Was I just want to get back to a point where I'm really happy to go and enjoy my profession again. And so that's happened, and I'm extremely, extremely grateful for that. I feel very, very fortunate every day.
That's great.
This was exactly the right thing. So
that's great. And from a financial perspective, let's talk about that. So financially, before we made this decision to join, financially, was it hard?
Extremely difficult. And that was another large component of this isn't working. We were in the throes of the hygiene pay hike. Mm-hmm. That was huge.
Which is absolutely nuts right now.
It's crazy.
I don't know how we're going to sustain this.
And sorry, I got to fix this. Will be edited out. The hygiene crisis pay situation really, really, really had a huge impact on the practice. Everyone was so overwhelmed with trying to work short-staffed that really critical things to maintain a practice were being neglected, and I have to take ownership of that as well. Fees hadn't been negotiated in quite some time. All of us were experiencing insurance companies trying to lower, our payments and whatnot. And so the financials were a huge, huge part. It's I still have a family to take care of, and I have student loans to pay, and I can't go on too much longer not getting a paycheck because I'm paying everybody else and supporting everybody else.
Go bankrupt.
So, that was a huge, huge, huge part of it.
Yeah. It's hard when you work your ass off and you look at your bank account and it's low.
It's depressing.
It's really depressing.
Mm-hmm.
So now, do you feel like it's nice to get a paycheck?
Absolutely.
I mean, you're making great money.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel like we're on the upstroke here, so
Okay,
I'm good.
Good.
Yes.
Good. And then the last thing I really just want to touch on is family, like raising a family, owning a business. How have you balanced your career and your family?
It's challenging, so I have a lot of respect for women who are single mothers that are dentists and owners and whatnot, because it's a lot of balls to juggle. Mm-hmm. And my husband always resents it when I say that I'm a single mom. I'm a part-time single mom.
Yeah. Well, he's gone a lot. He travels.
He has gone a lot with his 2 pilot jobs, and he's about to deploy again this summer for about 3.5 months. And so that's, inherently challenging. So I feel so much more a sense of balance now that the stress of ownership and running business and management has been taken off my plate. I feel so much more balanced.
Oh, good.
Yes, it's been huge. Before, it was a little bit of a struggle because I think I was in such a, I want to exaggerate and say a dark place, but it was a dark place. And getting home and feeling like I just really didn't have anything left to give. Like, I love my husband. I'm so fortunate. I mean, this past St. Patrick's Day, we have known each other for 24 years, which is wild. And so, we really have fun together still. So
That's
trying to put
awesome.
effort into, keeping the spark alive
Yes.
and, enjoying our marriage while we have this amazing little kid. I don't want anything else to take away from that. So
Yeah, you seem grateful.
very,
and you seem
very
like
grateful.
You're really in the moment.
Yes.
And see, that's the crazy thing about life and our brains is like that was a time that was really heavy for you, and now you've passed it, and it's so great just to have a moment and be just appreciative and
I'm
happy.
so grateful.
You have a healthy daughter and a healthy marriage and an awesome career. You should be so proud of yourself.
I'm very, very grateful. Very grateful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think today was great. Thanks for being so vulnerable.
Absolutely.
And sharing. And hopefully there's some takeaways for anybody else who's running a business and is by themselves. And any tips that we gave, I just hope they were valuable. Thanks.